Millimeter, it be accurately measured. It's measured flat, direction up and down. Flat level we at, flight over ground. Descending from that breeze, heading in degrees. Horizontal, flat, ESC. Now you know it's flat below ground. Measured flat. You hearing me now?
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Also check out my new book, Measured Flat. Link is in the info box below this video, together with an affiliate link so you can sell the book and make 30% of the proceeds of selling it via your own link. So check out both the affiliate link and the link to Measured Flat in the info box below this video. And we are joined by Neil, Click OK, Adam, Len, Refracted Curvature, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in the Worldwide Debates Discord. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
Indeed. Whoever that was in Discord. Good to be here.
Hey, if I steal off of you and follow you around, does that mean I win the argument if you don't want to be around me anymore?
No. Okay, so in the pre-show, I'm being followed around by a stalker, it would seem. So one of the Discord participants, who's a regular in all the servers that we frequent, has decided that in spite of me saying, I don't want to be around you, you've stolen from me. So this is one of the individuals has decided that rather than paying $14.97 to download a copy of Measured Flat from the single source you can buy it from, which is Books Online, nowhere else has my book for sale other than that one location. And it costs $14.97 to participate in the book reading endeavours that buying a book and reading it involve. In this instance, there's a payment attached to that privilege. Whether you like the material because you're a flat earther, or you despise the material because you're an anti-flat earther, you still have to pay for it. Now, if somebody comes along and goes, I don't want to pay for it because I hate you. I love following you around everywhere to hate you, but I'm not going to support you in any financial way. I'd rather steal from you and download it illegally for free. Well, then I don't want to be in your company. Examples of this include Simon Dan, who decided to download an illegal copy and then display it in a video he's making money on. Now, if you thieve from me, I'm just going to call you out for being a thief. Don't steal stuff that costs $15 and expect the person that's selling that item for $15 not to turn around and just shout thief with all of the street metaphorically looking on you as you walk away with a book metaphorically under your arm that you've walked out of a shop without paying for. Don't do that. It's not reasonable. Now, over the last few weeks, I've heard the most horrific excuses for theft. Like, have you never downloaded pirate material on CD before? And the answer, no. I'm not a thief. I'm not downloading from Pirate Bay. I've got thousands of original CDs that I transfer from computer to computer with the original copy bought from HMV or Virgin Megastore or wherever it is that's selling them, currently Head in Leamington Spa, a music shop that sells music. Now, I wouldn't dream of walking into Head, picking up a CD from a band I hate and go, I'm going to chastise these guys online, but therefore I'm not paying for it. I'm just going to walk out with it. Absolutely not. But that's what people currently think is reasonable because I'm a flat earther, that you can just walk into the metaphorical shop, in other words, download something illegally without paying for it, and then suddenly start, like Simon Dan, making critique videos of it. You're like, really? You're going to steal it and then make a video for profit? scum. Now, this is a penalisable by law offence. It's a crime. People think that, oh, no big deal, I'm just stealing this. No, it is. Piracy is a crime. Now, people don't seem to understand that. My purpose in being here, as much as I love this, I love making YouTube videos. It's what I trained for in college. I love doing this performance. But the purpose is to make a living from it. Not so I can be here for the fun of you scumbags on the globe side thieving from me so you can mock and ridicule me. No, I'm here to feed the kids and keep the lights on. It's a commercial endeavour. Like Dan, who's registered his Simon Dan Entertainment division on Company's House under his wife's name so he can go forth and steal to make the material with. And who's he stealing from? Me. It's not enough that these people get algorithmic favouritism from people like YouTube at the decree of Congress. That's them being the preferred content, as it's described. Another double-speak way of saying we'll censor these people by promoting these people who aren't them. That's just another way of saying censorship, what I have to endure. But the people who benefit from that same censorship won't part with $14.97 to produce a video that will get hundreds of thousands of views. You're like, no, you're just thieves. And it was right on the borderline. I was saying this in yesterday's after show. On the borderline was when you nick someone's material, play 30 seconds to a minute of it, and then have 2 or 3 words from you on camera to then carry on with the long-form video beyond 8 minutes, with the majority of it being someone else's frickin' material. That's right on the borderline of theft. And that's where people like Dan have remained for as many years as I've known their existence, taking advantage of the algorithmic love offered to people who chastise us. But that doesn't mean you get to step over that line, which you're very close to anyway, and just steal from me. Now, if you're one of the people in the Discord server that's like, yeah, it's been downloaded thousands of times without people paying for it, you're like, okay, so you're just a thief then, and your dilution of that is to say that thousands of others have done as you've done. Well, I don't want to be around these people, right? This is the bottom line. I don't want to be around thieves. And the opponents, ironically, the thieves in this instance, are the ones that condemn us as though we're scammers. They're the ones that turn around to their audience and say, these people are grifters, they're con men. Like, no, that's pure projection. As you steal our material and now literally download illegal copywritten material so you can make videos with it. You're the scumbags you accuse us of being. These are the people on the opposing side, not normies, not globe believers, anti-flat earthers, people who brace against what we do. The Simon Dans and the Creaky Blinders of this world, the Craig McNeils, those people, they're all scum. Now, if you're watching them to affirm your globe bias and you love the fact that they chastise flat earthers, I'm sure if someone held their mirror up to you, you'd realise how repugnant that is. But because they're cheering for your belief where it's been challenged, and you don't want to introspectively assess yourself, you'd rather project it onto people like me. Well, that's all well and good until you're thieving to achieve that ends. Then you're just a thief.
Well, I think there might be some legal repercussions for YouTube assigning them as preferred content while they're stealing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I've always seen these people as being right on that borderline anyway. Like, partly one of the reasons why I overtly go the other way. So I'll review a video that's being critical of me, a flat earther, by stereotype, but still critical of me. And that person will have a link that I can publish to my audience. I'll do it now to make an example of exactly what I'm talking about. Right, this is me going the other direction. So I'll say words to the effect of, go and let the Devils Avocado know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so that I, a YouTuber, just looking to make a living here on YouTube, can share in the algorithmic love by letting my audience connect with his audience. That's me offering the ability for the person I'm now going to critique moving forward to get some benefit out of the material he's produced that will now be played on my channel. Why? Well, because the people who oppose us, that's the always were borderline thieving anyway, people like Simon Dan, who take huge chunks of people's material and never credit them. They don't put the links below, they don't tell the person watching where they've got the material, they just tell the person watching, this person's scum, this person's wrong. Now, normally with a whole string of fallacies, but we won't get into the inaccuracies when it comes to their disposition towards us. We'll just point out that they're always on the borderline of thieving anyway, and now they've decided that it's tolerable to step over that line and actually steal from me. You're like, no, you will now be branded a thief from now on and moving forward. When anybody brings up these people's names, I'll say, what, the thief? The person that's algorithmically favoured but too tight to part with under $15 to critique a book. They'd rather steal it. Well, I'll brand them a thief whenever opportunities arise to do so. Because that's what they are. And you don't like it? Tough luck. Don't steal. Now, I get it. People want to be critical of my new book. Allegedly, 1,000 people plus have downloaded it illegally so they can engage with this material. Several hundred people have paid for it legitimately, which I'm delighted about. It's actually doing what it was intended to do and generate a revenue stream. Now, it would only generate that revenue stream if it was good. And being good, being over the target, means it's generated controversy in the opposing camp. But these are the high and mighty. These are the people that suggest we're the con men and scumbags. Like I say, they're just common thieves. And I can prove it. Like, there you go, you've got a thieved copy of my material that you're critiquing. You expect me to call you out as being a really good and honest person, except that you're calling me a grifter because I want to feed my frickin' kids? No, I'm just like any normal person. I've written a book because I want to flog it, not because I want you to be able to critique it for free because you feel that you're justified. Why? Because you've been thieving your CDs for the last 10 years, presumably. You haven't bought a movie forever. They're easy to download. Yeah. Illegally. And that's what people think that they can extend out into the world. No, you're just robbing from the artist, robbing from the movie maker, robbing from the author. It's just robbing. You're just thieves. So make no mistake, if I catch you thieving, I will, number one, call you out immediately. Yeah, I'll give you a fair crack of the whip if I'm like, no, fair enough. I'll make it seem like I'm a reasonable person when I know you're a thief. I'll say, all right, can you justify this stolen copy that you've got? So that it at least seems like I'm making some effort to give them the benefit of the doubt when I already frickin' know. I know what I'm being robbed from, yeah? And I know who the thieves are. Now, on the other hand, as I've said already, to positively spin this, that means that I can look down the barrel of the camera without having to be a bullshitter and say, I am being told that thousands of people have downloaded Measured Flat so that they can engage with the material. Now, if it was inconsequential or the lies that are peddled after the fact, there's no measurements in it. Oh, really? Every third line's describing how Earth's measured flat. But that's their way of saying to the rest of the world, there's nothing to see here. Yeah? Well, there's a giant raging inferno. Nothing to see, nothing to see. Yeah, there is. That's why they're telling their audiences, don't look over here. Well, unfortunately for them, people are looking. People have already downloaded it. People are well acquainted with the material and how flat Earth is measured and how the glober is using those measurements to build his faith. So moving forward, if you're a scumbag and you've stolen from me, don't expect me to want to be in your company. If you then follow me around, I'll call you a creep, because that's all you are, you bunch of beta creeps. It's really greasy. Now, it's not like this is new to us. We know what you are. You're the spotty AV kids that got your heads flushed down the bog in high school. We already knew what we were. We established what you were about a year and a half ago, after we stepped back from thinking it was an argument that we were having. There's no argument. Earth's just measured flat. Doesn't mean you get to steal from me just because you've got to use flat Earth measurements. But if you want to legitimately read Measured Flat, links below my video or wherever you see the affiliates posting up links for the book, and you can just pay for it, you know, especially if you're algorithmically favoured. It's not like you're having to put out 4 videos a day like I do to keep the lights on with ad revenue that's pittance. You guys are favoured in the algorithm and too tight to spend $15. It amazes me how tight-fisted you are. Yeah? There we go, that's life. That's what people are like when they're weaselly, slimy, scummy, creepy, stalkery thieves. And that's what we're up against. That's the people who defend the globe. Scummy, creepy, thieving bastards. Now, most of us already knew that. Go ahead.
Okay, on the bright side, what do we got moving forward?
We've got moving forward, me publicising this guy. We're going to cover this avocado guy today. Oh, you're talking about me going on Eric DeBay's show. So a couple of days ago, I sent out a message via Eric's latest video, which was an interview, and said it'd be great to have you interview me about Measured Flat. And that particular comment got a whole bunch of likes, and he responded and said, yeah, that'd be great. Drop me an email. So I did. I got my PR team to drop him a newsletter with the press release on it, and I asked my publisher to send him a copy of the book, which both of them dutifully did. And then he got back to me this morning directly and said, great, can you come on tomorrow or Saturday? And then suggested times, and I'm like, yeah, great, I'll do it tomorrow. Fantastic. So hopefully, might come to nothing. It's unlikely now that I'm actually arranging times with him, but it's most likely tomorrow, when there should be a live show, I'll actually be doing a pre-record with Eric DeBay. And he said, yeah, I've read your book. I'm now on chapter 13. I want to get the rest of it read before I interview you, but I really like it thus far. They're like, fantastic. Couldn't be more delighted. So it'd be marvellous if that's the first video that gets released. If the ball is started to roll with Eric DeBay being the first interview about the book, that would be outstanding. Because as far as I'm concerned, Eric DeBay is the biggest name in Flat Earth.
Do you know that I'm not surprised?
I didn't know that you're not surprised. Why would I know that you're not surprised?
Well, okay, let me ask you, are you surprised?
Am I surprised that Eric is interested in hearing about the book?
No, that he's going to give you an interview and talk to you, even though he's talked to no one.
He does talk to people. There's this impression that he's super elusive. Yeah, I regularly watch Eric DeBay's videos. He's always doing interviews.
That's my point.
What do you mean? Go watch your point.
That's my point. Flat Earthers think that they can't talk to Eric DeBay. They can't talk to Joe Rogan. They can't talk to this person. They can't talk to that person. Meanwhile, you got, people like Flat Earth Dave talking to everyone. Who says you can't actually appropriately set up a conversation with someone? You just keep letting these anti-Flat Earthers distract you. These people, like, if you get on and have a perfectly good conversation with Eric DeBay, like, that just flies in the face of everything Flat Earthers have, the lowness that Flat Earthers thought they were in, not being able to talk to anyone, even people who are popular in their own group. They'd rather make conspiracy theories like, oh, they're a gatekeeper, they're a shill. Oh, no, it just took someone to say, hey, I have a book, or hey, I have something to say. Would you mind interviewing me about it? Oh, yeah, sure. I don't see why not. It's that simple. But you guys act like everything is impeccable.
I get what you're
Nobody's
saying.
ever acted like that. We knew.
Well, it's not that I was hesitant because I didn't think he'd be responsive. It's more that I want something to be responsive about. So in his reply, he's like, I'm up to X chapter in your book. I think he said he was up to chapter 13. And he's like, I'm really enjoying it. I really like the way you're focused on the measurements of Earth and not distracting away from the heliocentric bullshit that they have to peddle into. He starts reciting the tone and timbre of the book that he's enjoying. You're like, so there's something for him to engage. I've got goosebumps just talking about this. It's sweet. He's got something to engage with, and he likes it because it's peddling the rhetoric that he's been peddling for the last decade plus. So it's something that he's engaging with, that he likes, and therefore wants to talk to me about. Now, a year ago, hi, Eric, it's Nathan. I want to talk to you about me and how ace I am. He'd be like, okay, I guess. You suppose we could come on? What exactly was it that you wanted to talk about? I'm like, flat Earth and flat earthing. He's like, well, okay, I guess we could talk about flat earthing. We are in the same arena and we've never spoken before, so I suppose that would be fun. But it doesn't have any focus. Whereas going into his comment section and speak with one sentence, I want to talk to you about Measured Flat, my new book. That got loads of thumbs up because loads of people respond to, oh, yeah, that'll be a good interview talking about the new book that's come out. You're like, yes, there's a focus about it. There's a product. I use the example of Madonna. She's out on the tour talking to the talk show hosts because she's got a new album out. Or Coldplay, they're in front of the circuit. They're on the, Tour de talk show host because they've got a new album to promote. You don't see U2 unless they've got a new album out, and then they're saying, buy the new album. Plug, plug, plug. Now, I'm hopefully going to do exactly the same thing. Plug, 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 plug. That's all I want to do. And the plugging is a means to an end. The book is a reason to be on Eric Debay. So in reality, I actually do want what I'm saying isn't possible because it would be mundane just talking to him about flirting rather than having a product. You want the product so that you can talk about flirting, so that people come and listen to this. The book is a means to an end. Yeah, I want the revenue stream, and yeah, I will condemn those who thieve it. But the purpose of the book is also just a means to an end. I want more people to come to this, what we do, and share in it and partake in it and pipe up. Like, at any moment, somebody from the Discord server can say, I disagree with you when you said X 35 seconds ago, 20 seconds ago. I think you're wrong. And that engagement is what we all love here, right? That's what we all want. The engagement with the show. Or at least I think that's what we all want. That's what I want. I want show engagement. Speaking of which...
Yes, Nathan, yes.
Well, there's 55 people watching, and it'd be great if it was 155 people. That's the bottom line. Not just because I want super chats. Obviously, smash the super chat if you want to support this channel, and I'll read out your super chat. That's generally the engagement barter that's going on between you as an audience member and YouTube for a financial benefit for everybody and concerned me. You get your chat read out, you get thanks from the person producing the material. But that would be better, or you'd be more inclined, people who are hovering over a super chat, if there was 100 people watching, people would be far more inclined to want a comment read out because they don't necessarily want to go on the show, but they do want their point recognised in the middle of a discussion and a back and forth. So having 100 people, as it always was the case until a couple of years ago, watching the show on a daily basis is where I'd like to be. Not because I don't want to produce 4 videos a day just to keep the numbers steadily increasing, which I have done, because I do like what I'm doing. But it would be nice if the shows were getting 100 plus live viewers rather, to the live stream. That would be fantastic. I think the engagement would be far better if there was more people watching. And going out touring a book does get more people to come back and put more eyeballs on the show. So that's my ambition. That's the whole reason for doing this.
Well, it's a lot less vulgar on now than it was like 2 years ago,
Yep.
And I think it's partly because of fully understanding their claims and what's necessitated in each claim, I think that's going to make a difference soon too.
Europe. Well, we've actually got a video to cover today. This video, as I've already shared it once, I'll do it again now, is by the Devils Avocado. And it's like the 3rd day we've attempted to cover this video. So hopefully we'll do a bit better than we've done previously. I have now put a link in the chat, which is just here, to the Devil's Avocado. So if you can, pop along to his channel and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by that particular videographer, or indeed by the YouTube algorithmic bots that don't like swear words, don't like you being passive aggressive. But yeah, click on this link, go and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The way you do that is by using an @ symbol and then Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word with the @ symbol, enter, and then it'll go blue, and then someone can actually click on that link and find their way back here. The hope being that the YouTube videographer that we're engaging with as an audience does the same in response. So if the Devil's Avocado was to make a response video to us responding to him, then hopefully he'd do the same for me and pop a link to my channel in the same way I'm posting a link to his in my live stream chat. So if you are in the live stream chat, please do actually do this. I'll do this call to action several times, just so you've got enough time in the live stream audience to actually pop along to that channel. Let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. In this instance, now that there's edging up to 60 people watching, this is a videographer that will be even more grateful. Typically, we're covering people who are a bit bigger than us. This guy's a bit smaller than us, so 5 and a bit thousand subscribers. This guy will be definitely grateful for the engagement, and I know I was when I was at that level of subscription. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Don't be passive aggressive if you're on the flirf side and hate the fact that he's critical of you. Obviously, feel free to praise him if you're on the glurf side. Do whatever you like. Just don't be passive aggressive, because you'll just get your comment removed. I would do if I was videographer and I got those sorts of comments, I do just remove them immediately. So I would expect others to do the same as I do. So just be polite, and hopefully his comment will be, engaged with by him and hopefully makes a response. But yeah, do let the Devil's Avocado know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. Hopefully that's given you in the live stream audience enough time to actually pop along to his channel and do exactly that. We have a super chat that I'll read out and then we'll actually get into the video. So massive shout out to, why isn't it appearing in my viewer activity? At UK someone, I can't read who it's from. At UK Diamond 33, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Hi Nathan, have you typed in Grok AI measured flat? All Roads Lead to Flat Earth book written by Nathan Oakley. Thought it was good. No, I've not done that. Sorry. But I'm sure someone will inform me exactly what happens after this live stream's over. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Smash the super chat if you want to support this channel. Let's get into this video. Oh, wrong button. I do want me on screen.
Globes. But honestly, you're here, so you already know that. Number 1, the horizon is always flat. If the Earth is a giant ball, people expect to see the curve.
Okay. If you're suggesting that there's curve to be seen, then the curve that the heliocentric worldview suggests is there is a derivative of flat Earth measurements by prerequisite. So distance to the geometric horizon is a horizontal linear measurement in nautical miles, statute miles, kilometres, furlongs, whatever you give it in, it's a horizontal distance that's ascribed. The calculation is reliant on measuring your altitude from surface level. That's your height, perpendicular to a plane. So the output value to suggest that you should see, as he's suggesting someone with a worldview that's spherical would suggest and infer, a curve, then you'll need flat Earth measurements for the calculations thereof. Earth curve is a derivative of flat Earth measurements.
That's really where this argument comes from. You go to the...
Ed?
To quote one of the gentlemen who spoke with you a couple of weeks ago, how am I supposed to figure out vertical drop without horizontal distance?
Yeah, there was a guy called Curved or Curve or something like that.
beach, look at the ocean, and everything appears flat. Same thing from a plane. Even from high mountains, the horizon...
I don't really get this. When GLERFs, Globe Earth believers, start telling you about how you experience the world flat, like, how is this an endeavour that would benefit you on the Globe Earth side? Oh, well, you look out and it appears flat. Like, do you think because you put this weasel word in, appears? Like, yeah, you used to get away with that. For us, the appears bit is now inconsequential. I don't need to appeal to how Earth is obviously, observably flat when it's measurably and required to be flat for all measurements that are ever made with respect to it. So this standard that you're appealing to, while weaselly, like there's a expectation that it'll appear flat, like those couple of weasel words don't change the fact that it's measured that way. As I just detailed, the drop with respect to the vertical, if you're going to suggest curve, requires a horizontal distance measurement, which is exactly how Earth's been measured.
Horizon still looks like a straight line. Flat earthers basically say, if the Earth curves...
Flat earthers say, if the Earth curves. Well, then they're not flat earthers. Then they're steel-manning a globe position, but that could be anybody. Nothing about somebody who says, quote, if the Earth curves, ... suggests anything about being a flat earther. It sounds like you're misrepresenting somebody steel-manning your position. That's what's actually occurring.
Why can't we clearly see it with our own eyes?
Why can't we see the curve? You're supposed to be able to see a curve at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat Earth. That's the distance to the geometric horizon that you're supposed to be able to see in your Earth curve mathematics that's reliant on Earth curve being derived from flat Earth measurements. That's where it should be seen. And you're saying that FLERFs say we should see it. That makes no fucking sense, does it? But that's how it's been PSYOP engineered, so people called flat earthers brace against people who say it's a globe by saying it's not a globe. We should see at this distance that's global, and we don't. That really annoys me. Like, that's not flirting. Saying we see too far based on a distance to a geometric horizon, that's not flat earthing. That's steel manning your opponent's position. Now, that's not mistake representing your opponent's position so you can destroy it as being anything to do with flat earth. If you want to associate a distance to a geometric horizon based on your observer height from a flat earth measurement from sea level, then point out that you've got a flat earth measurement from sea level, because that's the only bit that's actually associated with flat earth. And from the glober's point of view, their globe belief is dependent on measuring earth from a plane of reference, altitude from sea level.
And honestly, at normal human height, that feeling makes sense. The problem...
Normal human height? What, perpendicular to a plane? Height is a flat earth only measurement in the vertical. You can't have verticality unless it's axiomatically tied to the horizontality. These things are tied at the hip.
is scale. The Earth is enormous. Its circumference is about 40,000 kilometers.
The circumference is a derived value that you've taken from a radial value extracted from minimum elevation angles at its maximum. That's to say, at the point that you lose sight of Polaris, the extrapolated value based on the calculation of 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles gives you an extracted value in a flat linear format in nautical miles. That radius can then be converted to a circumferential value and then converted into whatever derivative after the fact value you want to ascribe to it. Miles, furlongs, meters, it doesn't really matter. But the extracted calculated value for a circumferential value is fundamentally reliant on having a derivation of an angle measurement from a flat plane to Polaris, that's called an elevation or altitude angle measurement, and a conversion from the 90, that's the position below the star, to your position when you measure it, with a triangle, a right angle triangle, that's the 90, and times by 60, that's the convention that you use for the distance, nautical miles, 1 degree for 60 of them. So you measure the angle, get to its minimum, and then minus from 90 and times by 60 that measured angle. So you can infer at the minimum a value that gives you a flat radial value that then gives you this circumference. Or to put it in a more shorthand form, your circumferential value is derived from a radial value that's derived from a flat Earth measurement of altitude angle. That's how you get to this value.
So the curve exists, but
no, it doesn't. The curve only exists in mathematics. It's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth. That's where your suggestion in mathematics only, there's a geometric limitation in an orthographic view. It doesn't exist in reality. It only exists in maths. There is no Earth curve. Hills exist. We've surveyed them to the millimetre accuracy with a system called Rise Over Run. Hills exist. We've surveyed them from sea level. An axiomatic principle of having a baseline that is flat also to derive the millimetre accuracy in the vertical for hills. Earth curve, in the way it's being suggested and postulated in this video, does not exist beyond the mathematics of a derivation of a distance that's flat, horizontal and linear, based on a calculation that takes your height, that's perpendicular altitude from sea level, at 1.22 times the square root of that observer's height, to give you a distance to a geometric horizon only in existence in the maths, and based upon flat Earth measurements. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Well,
you just...
the measurement-
Oh, sorry, John, you go first.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say the calculation cannot contradict the measurement. If you do, you're misapplying the mathematics. So it doesn't even exist in maths. It only exists in the misapplication of mathematics.
That's correct.
If that's not necessarily a correction, but it's the misapplication of mathematics that gives them the idea that there's Earth curve.
He's just
Yeah.
making me laugh. How he's just spent loads of time saying, it just looks flat, and the sea level looks flat and it looks like a straight line. Then he's jumped straight into a globe, and it definitely is a globe with this circumference value, which he's not gone in and talked about any measurements of this circumference value or radial value. You have, Nathan, not him. And now he's going to say, so it definitely is a sphere, but it just looks flat, will be his next words come out of his mouth, probably.
Well, he
Yeah.
boldly said there is a curve, right?
No,
And
I think-
pilots do account for it when they're flying, Nathan.
I think what Wandek's suggesting, and he's correct, I just forgot to highlight it right at the start, I should have done, is this is a straight up begging the question fallacy. His assumption starts with sphericity, and then after his assumption of sphericity, he makes apologetics for why the appearance that we are confronted with our own frickin' eyeballs in reality is that of a flat plane. So he's apologising for his begging the question fallacy, assuming his outcome. That's correct, one deck. Sorry, what were you going to say, Neil? Something about flights?
Yeah, pilots account for it. What are you talking about? When flying, they account for curvature. It's built in the plane.
No, the altitude from surface level or sea level is a perpendicular altitude in the vertical with respect to a horizontal plane of reference at sea level. So there's no accounting for curve when you're flying in flight level. Flight level is an axiomatic principle of perpendicularity. So you've got to be perpendicular to a plane to have an altitude to be in a flight level, parallel with the surface level. So you've got two axioms: parallel, perpendicular.
And the smaller aeroplanes, which they have got instruments in the cockpit, but they use the windows and the screen, and they use the actual horizon to maintain straight and level flight. They use both the wings and the horizon to keep horizontal. So they're using the surface of Earth to stay straight and level flight, proving that the Earth is horizontal, flat, level.
I agree with that until they get to the curve, and then the plane takes over.
No, if you had curve, it would be measured, so it would be a deviation. So if you fly over a mountain, the deviation from the vertical altitude at its peak to the sea level at its base is measured and accounted for. You need to have measured it or you fly into it. So they have measured hills, as I said earlier. When you're measuring what some people phrase Earth curve, you're like, no, Earth does have curves. They're called hills. Valleys, mountains. The topographical deviation is measured to the millimetre accuracy, so that planes don't smash into it. So they can ascribe a flight level above the terrain measured from sea level. Again, the axiom being parallel to the ground and above anything that's going to obstruct you in the horizontal. So when you fly the distance, that's also a flat Earth measurement of horizontality. You can ascribe the vertical topographical obstacles that might confront you with respect to the distance you will fly in a flat Earth direction. That's called azimuth. So I don't know what you're babbling about, Neil.
Are you a pilot? You're not a pilot. Okay? It's flat until you get to the part where it starts curving, then you got to fly around the curve. Everybody knows this.
Well, if that was the case, I've
it.
just agreed with you. Yes, when you have to fly around the mountain. yeah, that's all been measured to the millimetre accuracy. We've got that with a reference from sea level. But the way you're phrasing it is to infer, like this guy, that there's an Earth curve, like an overarching spherical worldview curve, that we wouldn't notice. It looks all flat, but it does eventually take over. No, to describe a curve is to describe a drop in the vertical with respect to the horizontal measured distance. So notwithstanding that we've got a freaking horizontal measured distance, if we did have any deviation in the vertical, we'd have measured it. Now we do. We measure mountains, but the rest of the world is reference to sea level. That's how it's all measured.
I think what Neil's trying to say is planes only use the horizontal sea level locally.
No, what I'm saying is Earth is so big. I mean, you got to figure out how big Earth is, and then it's flying. You're not going to really. It's minute, you know. It's negligible.
No.
So
how big
you're
something
really
is?
not paying attention. But you're going around the curve.
How big something is ascribed to its mile value. If you're going to say it's this big in miles, then you need a mile measurement. Well, that's a horizontal distance. So we've had this a few times recently. I've had it in comments loads recently, which is people saying, oh, don't you appreciate that locally it's negligible, you don't have to account for curve, but beyond, and then they give a distance, let's say it's 10 miles. Beyond 10 miles, then they account for curve. Like, at the 11th mile, the 11th mile is still a horizontal distance measurement. It doesn't suddenly start to stop being the horizontal plane of reference that you can describe verticality from at 11 miles or 20 miles or 30 miles. It's still a horizontal distance. Miles, in this context, are horizontal. Always. It doesn't start to give you a curve. And if you did suggest over 10 miles, you wouldn't notice the curve. But after 10 miles, we can measure it. You're like, okay, so we've got 20 miles and we're going to measure curve. Yeah. Okay, so we'll be measuring vertical deviation from the horizontal distance then. Yeah. So we'll need a horizontal distance. There's no escaping how this works. In order to derive any suggestion of curve at any distance, we first need that distance. Simple.
I think Neil might be suggesting the non-local measurements of Earth. Non-local measure. No, you can't be suggesting that because you can't have one non-local measurement. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you can have, I was going to say you got there in the end. Yeah, you can have the suggestion of geodesy where it's beyond the measurements, but then you're into calculating. Now, when you have these surveys suggesting that they're doing it with the measurements, they're not. They're always measuring Earth as a planar surface. They've always referenced their tools to the plane of reference. They're always measuring angles from a zero baseline. The distances are still horizontal. Nothing changes. But after you've acquired all these flat Earth measurements, you can infer that you can bend it into a system. It's like GPS is, how did you describe it? Floating Cartesian?
Yes, it is a floating planar Cartesian coordinate system.
Right. So you can suggest that the conversion, after the fact, incorporates a bend that would still have the geodesic account for curve while the distance be horizontal and linear. It's just a little sleight of hand magic trick. But who cares? You do your magic trick all day if you want to believe that you're on a ball. Doesn't change the measurements. Miles don't start bending after 10 miles. They're still just miles. You know what I mean?
It's extremely subtle when you're standing on the surface. It's a bit like standing on a basketball. If the basketball were the size of a continent, you wouldn't notice much.
Shows a flat Earth map. Shows transverse Mercator.
Curve locally.
Why do they always use basketballs, for God's sake? That's basketball. It's always a bloody basketball, isn't it?
Well, you perfectly timed because you were the one who pointed out that he's just begging the question. Well, now he's begging the question with a false equivalence.
You're tiny compared to it. You actually can observe curvature in certain situations. Ships slowly disappearing bottom first over the horizon is one.
That is not a circumstance that's described anything other than planar. Bottom up is a planar description of vertical obstruction. Now, notwithstanding that I've already described the distance to the geometric horizon, I could break down the orthographic representation of a worldview that isn't taking into account perspective. We've got a title for that. The calculation itself, that is. The begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that takes your view and puts it into a side profile where you see the side of your own head and this claim to be obstruction that's derived by calculating into existence a geometric horizon based on your observer's height off surface level. That is to say, the calculation that you've just inferred relies on a flat Earth measurement, altitude, from sea level. That's where you get this value. Well, it doesn't mean that the bottom-up description is suddenly global. That's Cartesian. You're describing a verticality to an obstruction that you see with your eyes, not in the orthographic calculations of Earth curve, which is what you've suggested, wrongly.
Just going to say as well, I think I covered it there, Nathan, but yeah, he's just suggested there that we can see the curvature when we see boats disappear. Now, that isn't observing curvature, it's just observing a boat disappear, not curvature. It's just an optical phenomena with a presupposition that the reason the boat's disappearing is because he's begging the question again that he's got sphericity.
This is a frustrating part for me because when I write about this in the book, so this is in the chapter called Earth Curve, I do explain this, but with a heavy disclaimer. So I have to explain to the reader, I have no obligation to explain why, I'll use his words, bottom-up obstruction occurs. But I do. Now, it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy in a more glorified way. Most of the time, the person employing this fallacy doesn't realise they're doing it. But there's an invitation on the table for me, because this is about flat earthers, to explain why a boat appears to be obstructed from, in a Cartesian description of verticality, the bottom up. Now, again, that's a description from a plane. Bottom-up obstruction, the very description immediately negates any necessity for me to have to explain this. You're describing it with a flat plane. Bottom up, it's a planar description. Furthermore, when you describe it with your calculations, they fail because they're re-engineering the view from your eyeballs to a circumstance where you see the side of your own head and the target simultaneously, removing all aspects of perspective. It's called an orthographic representation. This trick is prevalent throughout all globe assertions. If you've got somebody that's suggesting they've got an Earth curve measurement, you can bet your bottom dollar they will utilise a orthographic representation so that they can suggest that a view that they get from a measuring device shows an item in the distance dropping when hashtag shit shrinks. But if you put that into an orthographic view when you see the side of your own head and the target, who's off mute? What?
It might have been me. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's on the roll that I was on. Go ahead.
Now I feel bad.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
Well, I will point out, though, that the Earth curve calculator and what they want to call a tangent is clearly marked perpendicular to your vertical as sea level, and eye level runs parallel with it in that calculation. So it's really not on us to explain anything. It's kind of on them to explain why they're so dumb that they bought it.
Yeah, their use of a parallel eye level and surface level is in their maths and labelled, so it's obvious if you look at the begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, that you have this axiom holding true, surface level and eye level, because you're going to be calculating a depression angle. Well, that depression angle is from the surface level at an altitude perpendicular to it. So the calculation is 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height. That's a flat Earth measurement in feet. That's where you get your distance to a geometric horizon. But you're calculating with a depression angle. Well, to be a depression angle, you've got to calculate it from the parallel, eye level. Parallel with what? Surface level. All of these flat Earth measurements are always axiomatically holding true, even when you're inferring sphericity. But the trick is to remove the perspective. As something moves into the distance, it decreases towards the horizon. That's hashtag shit shrinks. The cover of the book, few people have speculated, why are the cows on the cover? Well, the cows are on the cover for this reason. There's a scene in Father Ted, which is a British comedy. It's these two Irish priests. Irish comedy. And these Irish priests are away on a caravan holiday. And the scene cuts to Father Ted explaining to Dougal about the cows. And he's got a toy cow. And he says, Dougal, this cow is small. The ones out there are far away. Now that is why on the cover of the book you've got a big cow and a smaller cow. And in the chapter on Earth curve, after heavy disclaimers about this not being my burden, I don't need the horizon. I'm not utilising it to make a claim. Now, there's often the case that various navigation principles are employed to produce a globe, like creating latitude around a central position inside a globe. That's how it's derived. These are measurement principles from a plane that globe believers need to make their globe. Now, they are axiomatically tied to a flat plane to create them, in this case, angle measurement. But for me to have to explain why, in this case, the planar description of bottom-up obstruction occurs is me accepting, albeit unwittingly produced from my opponent, a burden of proof reversal fallacy, where I suddenly have to explain why that occurs. Now, hashtag shit shrinks. I give the example as follows. If you had a brick and you put it in front of you, this is in the book as well, with a diagram with a trough made of brick with a cow drinking from it. And in the distance, there's a building. But the brick that's in front of you in the trough is clearly visible. But if you take that brick, let's say it's about 8 inches, and put it a mile away, the brick becomes too small to see at approximately a mile away. You can't see the brick anymore because it's too small. Now, if you then build a tower block on top of that very brick that's disappeared, you can still see the tower block. You have an increased angular resolution to the rest of the tower. But the brick on the horizon at a mile is too small to see. So via angular limitations, you can't see the bottom brick. But you can see the rest of the building. Yeah, that's a planar description of angular resolution limits. Admirably described in the Rayleigh criterion. That's angular resolution limits causing you, the observer, to see one missing brick. What's that I hear? No, that's Earth curve. No, it isn't a derivation of a flat Earth measurement from surface level. Because as you increase in altitude, a flat Earth measurement from sea level, you simultaneously widen your angle of view, with the thing blocking your view being the surface. If you rise above the surface, you increase your angle with respect to it. Widening your angle increases resolution limits. So you can then bring the brick back by raising in altitude. To hijack this maths is to infer that a measured height of flat Earth, that's altitude, gives you a distance in an orthographic view to an Earth curve? No, this is perspective, and you can only describe perspective mathematically from a plane also. Now, I will reiterate here, as I do in my book, this is not my burden. I don't care why things appear to disappear bottom up in the distance. Who gives a crap? The only reason it's on my doorstep is because bull believers hijack measurements from a plane in the vertical, perpendicular to sea level in this instance, and infer in an orthographic maths that that is where the maths of Earth curve should reside when you ignore perspective. Done.
People have documented for centuries. At very high altitudes.
Hi, what now? Altitude is a measurement from a plane perpendicular to sea level. Height, very high, yeah, that's a verticality tied axiomatically to the horizontality. Now, for 10 years, minimum for me, bit longer, people have been using these flat Earth prerequisites like altitude without care or leave. So what are you doing? If you're going to start using this to suggest you have some sort of sphericity, as you presumably launch into the Earth curve mathematics you don't understand, you're immediately appealing to altitude, a measurement from a plane in the vertical. For Earth, it's from sea level, perpendicular to it. This is only ever capable of being measured from a flat Earth. And what do you know? This bull believer's appealing to it immediately. What a shock. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, it's amazing that we've spoke about this over the last few months, Ethan, how we're noticing now and pointing out that's all they ever use and have used these flat Earth prerequisites. And he's just demonstrating it beautifully right now.
Especially with specialized cameras that avoid lens distortion, the curve also becomes more visible. So
No, the curve does not become more visible. What you get is angular resolution limits that are at the horizon that, as I've described with the brick, would cause the brick to become too small to see at a given distance with the limitation of the ground. Now, the reason the altitude, a measurement from a flat Earth, has some bearing on what you can see in the distance is, as I previously described. As you increase in altitude, you widen your angle of view. If you're actually at sea level, you have no visual acuity below 90 degrees. It's blocked by the ground. If you raise up in altitude, you increase the angle with respect to the plane you're raising above and measuring from sea level. Increasing the angular resolution means you can see more. That's what angular resolution means. It doesn't mean there's an Earth curve in a hijacked version of perspective when you take an orthographic calculation to infer that your height off a flat Earth gives you a distance to a geometric horizon. That is incorrect.
the argument feels intuitive because human senses are limited. The Earth is simply too large for the curve to look dramatic from everyday perspectives.
Everyday perspective is describing planar measurements of angular resolution. That's what perspective is. To quote conspiracy cats, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. Perspective, because it's a planar description of angles, like I've just described. So from your perspective, we wouldn't see the curve, it's subtle. No, it's suggested in an orthographic mathematics to be at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat Earth. That's what you're begging the question. Proof of nothing. Perspective hijacking Earth curve maths dictates you will see. You won't see. It's a magic trick. In an orthographic view, you never get to see the side of your own head, as described in Earth curve mathematics.
Rating 3 out of 10.
Oh, sorry. This rating is because you suggest that this is a flat Earth argument. What you talked about was your own Earth curve mathematics. So you're essentially rating a Steelman version from your so-called opponent on the flat Earth side as having a very low star rating. No, I mean, I would give this 5 stars because there's quite a few flat Earth prerequisites and measurements in it, including but not limited to altitude of building, angular resolution, perspective, and distance, all of which can only and will only ever be measured on a flat Earth. So I'd give this a 5-star rating. It includes multiple flat Earth measurements. Now, I realise that you're misrepresenting this as being a flat Earth argument of low value. It's not. It's your curve and the distance that you say it should be. How's this got anything to do with flat earthing? Anybody could take apart the religious belief you have in these heliocentric mathematics. That's nothing to do with flirfs, but it definitely has everything to do with measuring Earth flat, as you did, multiple times.
Easy to understand emotionally, but the argument weakens once scale and long-distance observations are taken into account.
Sorry, long-distance observations. Distance being a horizontal measurement of nautical miles, statute miles, kilometres, furlongs. These are flat Earth horizontal distances. When you say long-distance observations, the measurement is flat for distance. Have you never seen a map scale? So you're saying that this weak argument when a Steelman position that is actually global falls apart for not being too far as per the distance to the geometric horizon in an orthographic calculation goes beyond the long distance, then you've got a flat Earth measurement that you're appealing to. So even your overcome that you suggest infers sphericity uses long-distance photography. Yeah, the distance is flat, it's horizontal.
Number 2, water always finds its level.
Yeah, it does. People utilise something called a water level when they're levelling things. It's just a hose with water in. Or a spirit level when they've got a tool for establishing whether or not the wall you're building is level. It's a principle that's used in building stuff. Water finds and maintains level. That's a principle that's used regularly in building things. You're saying that's wrong? Then you're a moron.
This argument sounds smart.
No, it's not an argument. That's a statement of absolute fact. Am I missing something here? I'd just like to get the opinion, because I am but one man after all. Am I wrong when I say water finds and maintains level isn't an argument, it's a statement of absolute fact?
Yes.
Exactly. And it's demonstrable all day long.
Right. And it's also how we, for the last few thousands of years, have created the tools that we build things with, is to create a 90 using a vertical and horizontal, the horizontal being a water level. He's insane.
Yeah, he's saying it's a bloody argument. Are you insane?
At first, until you realize people are mixing up two completely different words. Flat earthers constantly say, water always finds its level.
It does.
And that part is actually true.
Oh, no shit, Sherlock frickin' Holmes.
No, only flat earthers say that. Builders
Only
tell you that.
flat earthers,
Builders
exactly.
merchants.
Yeah, I'm speaking over you. You've got exactly what I was going to say. Go ahead. Can you just repeat what you just said?
I was going to say, go to your local building merchants. They'll tell you the same. And they probably won't be flat earthers.
Yeah, he's just misrepresented it like flat earthers always say. This statement that's always true for everyone always. Yeah, that's because it's true.
The problem is that level does not mean flat.
What?
I've seen plenty of power banks over my.
Okay, KBHD. I think this Ridge power bank looks absolutely amazing.
But those two words are
Scientifically, a
synonymous.
level surface is a surface that is
What, ridge and
perpendicular to
power
the
bank?
direction of gravity. That's the actual
No,
definition.
flat and level.
Okay, so he says level is perpendicular to gravity. Sorry, what does perpendicular mean? Oh, at 90 degrees to the horizontal? That sort of perpendicularity when you're talking about sea level, because that's where we use this word, sea level, for vertical altitude. Like when you measured the height of the building, that would be perpendicular to sea level. You dumbass. So perpendicularity directly ties it with an axiom to flatness. You dumbass.
On a globe, gravity pulls toward the center of the Earth from every location.
No. The assertion of gravity pulling things is 111 years out of date. The warping of a pseudo-Riemannian geometry is the current rhetoric of gravity. So this guy's been high school educated with Newtonian concepts of gravity. Wrong.
Which means a level surface.
His high school concept incorrect because Newtonian mathematics are only applicable on an inertial plane. So he doesn't even know what he's talking about with Newtonian.
Naturally curves around the planet. So, ironically...
Right, you can't be perpendicular to gravity and curving around. Does this idiot not understand the words that are coming out of his own mouth? If you're saying it's perpendicular to gravity, that's what you had up. Am I going nuts?
Level does not mean flat. Scientifically, a level surface is a surface that is perpendicular to the...
So if it's perpendicular to gravity, gravity in this out-of-date rhetoric is a downward vector. Yeah? 9.8 meters per second in a downward orientation. That is to say, all things tend towards the ground, looks up at clouds, realises he's breathing gases that are moving in all directions. Nevertheless, 111-year out-of-date downward vector with perpendicularity ascribed to it in your own definition, number one, isn't gonna bend. That's violating what perpendicular means. You stupid idiot.
The direction of gravity.
I mean, I think he's getting to the...
That's the actual...
I think he's going to be getting to the... Sorry, I think he's going to be building up to a point where he's going to have to be saying sooner or later, level is curved. But he's just not quite getting to that point.
No, he has. That's essentially what he's just... He has just said that. That's what he said. That's why I rewound it. To point out that you can't be perpendicular to a curve. Or you can't get perpendicular from a curve, I should say.
Definition. On a globe, gravity pulls toward the center of the Earth from every location, which means a level surface naturally curves around the planet.
Did you hear him? A level surface curves. So, no. Perpendicular means at 90 degrees. It's not perpendicular to a curve, you dumbass. You're violating the axiomatic principle of what level means. In essence, the globe is level. That's what he's done. Like every dumbass we ever encounter recently. Suddenly, level means globe. No, it just means that you've been dropped on your head.
So, ironically, saying water finds its level is exactly like saying water is always curved.
No, those two things are axiomatically in violation to one another. Like a curve is a deviation from level. You stupid clown. What an idiot.
What people usually mean is...
Good.
This guy is he's giving false information out. I mean, this what he's talking about is incorrect. Yeah, you don't get taught this at school. It's fraudulent. He's misrepresenting what things are level and level not being level and level not being flat and level is curved. It's absolutely insane. The guy must be in a psychological dilemma or something.
Are hills level to this guy?
Yeah, that's exactly a hills level. So let me get it straight. So when we've got a flat football pitch, it's actually a round hill. And when we've got a hill, it's actually level. Because counterintuitively, that's what level means. It means actually curving. No, if you're going to describe something curving, you have a horizontality to describe a deviation from it in the vertical. Like slope, like rise over run, like how we measure a frickin' hill. No, the hill's not level. The globe isn't level. Stupid idiot.
Water is always flat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's why we build things, yeah? Like when they have to level a wall with a tool called a level. Oh my God.
But you'll notice that nobody really says that.
Other than everybody in the building industry, you dumbass. Everybody says that. There's tools made with that principle in mind. Oh my God. I've got one right here. There's one on my camera. Yeah, you never seen a level before, right? This is a tool that's used in the building industry. What? Nobody says that? No, you are an idiot. That's what this means.
He's thinking of a curval. That's what he's thinking of.
Just idiotic. It's beyond my comprehension at this point. This guy's saying, oh, nobody ever says that. Everybody says curve is actually level. That's what everyone always says, of course. No, they don't.
Because it's simply not true. That's precisely why the word level is always used in this context. It doesn't mean the same thing. Now let's talk about the construction tool, the little bubble level people use all the time. Flat earthers love bringing it up to show that something level is flat.
Because it is. Like your wall, like your foundation, like the ground that gets levelled. Sorry, do you think that when they spend thousands of pounds levelling out the terrain to build on it, that they're actually levelling to a curve? No! Dumbo!
But
It's just said, like Liam brought up, like you just go to a construction site, builders. That's how he started out at the beginning of this sentence. If you just go back, he said he's going to talk about construction. Then he said, flat earthers say this. Well, tell us what the construction workers say and how they use the tool.
Did you want to add something, D-Rose, or was it just fat fingers?
No, I just wanted to say this is almost like gaslighting. The way he's trying to tell listening audiences that that's not what they do. You may think it is, but it's not really what they do. It kind of sounds like gaslighting, like the way they try to convince you that, no, you're not saying that, you're saying this. You're not hearing that, you're hearing this. Like a spell, putting a spell on people and making people question their own common sense and knowledge. All the carpenters, all the people that do home improvement. It's ridiculous.
Measure flatness the way people think. It measures orientation relative to gravity.
So, as in orientation with respect to a downward vector. Yeah, the downward vector you're appealing to, 111 years out of date that it is, as you specifically detailed, perpendicular. That means verticality and horizontality are axiomatically tied at the frickin' hip. My God, these people are stupid.
You can literally place a level on top of your head and get a perfectly centered bubble.
Centered? With respect to what?
That doesn't suddenly mean your skull became a flat surface. It just...
Oh my God, this logic is so garbage.
This means that little line across your head is horizontal relative to gravity at that...
Yeah. So, horizontal then? Oh my God!
That point. At human scale...
Notice how he's got the exact same diagram that I'm doing live. Yeah? So we've got a downward vector, and we are perpendicular with respect to it then. So you notice how he's literally describing the exact same axiom that I describe. We've got the verticality and the horizontality. Yeah, that'd be flat. Because you've got it tied perpendicular to it. Where's the curve, as they say in Flurf terminology? There isn't one. What you've got in this diagram is the axiomatic principle of verticality tied to horizontality. There's no curve there. But we do have the axiom of verticality. You think incorrectly that this is somehow gravitation. No, not all things tend to the ground. Maybe you haven't released gas from your person recently. It spreads out like the clouds, like the water that comes up after the puddles form. That's not going down, you idiot. But when you ascribe it with the axiom of verticality tied directly to the horizontality, as diagrammatically exampled here, then you've got a flatness in the horizontality. That's what a level gives you. That's what the tool's for. Go ahead.
I'm just laughing. I can't help laughing looking at that picture. This guy, the globe, trying to suggest we live on a globe. He's stood there with a level on his head, showing you horizontal and vertical. This is insane.
But he's just said literally 35 seconds ago, well, when we've got level, that actually means curved. You know what, like in this diagram, you stupid idiot? Definitely not.
Flat.
Well, it might be, you got to be easy on them because it's really hard to use planar geometry to assert you live on a sphere.
Yeah, but that's what's actually happening if we calm down just a smidge. What's actually happening is this guy is utilising axiomatic principles of Earth measurement, in this case the axiom of perpendicularity. He's ascribed it incorrectly to an out-of-date 111-year-old force in the downward vector that he suggests pulls things to a curve when he violates his own axiom as demonstrated on screen in this diagram. But in his mind, this principle that he's now utilising of having a horizontal then perpendicular to the vertical much isn't flat. Yeah, absolutely is required to be, or buildings would be collapsing. You stupid dumbass who's obviously never built anything in his entire life.
Feel almost identical.
Oh, got a super chat from Sasha. Shout out to you. Really appreciate the support. I am Gravendish. I live here. Thanks, Nathan. Is that what he says? Is it Gravendish? What does he say? I'm GRUSHDEVAH. What does that even spell? I don't know how to say that. I have no idea what that even means. But thank you very much indeed for the super chat. I really appreciate the support.
Identical because the Earth is huge. A house is too small for the curve to matter noticeably.
Oh, I see. So when you say you don't notice it, it's actually in diametric opposition to you saying that horizontal's actually bending. Now you wouldn't notice it. Yeah, noticing it would be measuring it. Measuring it would be like measuring a hill. And when we measure hills, we measure the deviation in the vertical with respect to the horizontality you get from distance. Measurements of Earth's surface. So when you say, oh, we just wouldn't notice, well, which is it? Horizontal's actually bending, or we wouldn't notice? You seem confused, dimwit.
So a lot of approximations are made in everyday language.
You mean, generally speaking, people understand that level and flat mean the same thing?
But once you understand what the word actually means...
It means flatness, levelness, like when you build something. Not, oh, well, it's because it's actually a horizontal bending that we wouldn't notice. Noticing being how much we can measure vertical drop with respect to the horizontal that bends. You're just retarded. This is the dumbest shit ever. The double speaks off the chain.
The argument kind of collapses.
It's not an argument. You are in violation of an axiomatic principle when you say horizontality, that's flatness, bends, which is what you've done. You've tied it directly to the vertical with a downward vector that's 111 year out of date, and then simultaneously violated it, and now are suggesting that it's an argument? No, you're violating axioms. Please, can you stay off mute while I'm ranting, whoever it is? Go ahead.
Sorry, Nathan, I came off mute. I can't help laughing at this. Sorry, mate. It's just like, once you understand the word level is not level, then globe.
I'll just put it in the wall socket.
Look here, guys. Level is deviating from level at the rate of level. Why can't you understand that?
Slot the fuse into the little slot on the wall and just push the cover over the fuse.
This is what it comes to.
Oh shit!
They've got to say level is curved. That's what it's going to come down to. That's what it comes down to. They have to say level. It's not level. It's curved. That's how much of this is where it's got to.
And the way you know that level is deviating from level is that it's deviating at the rate of level. That's how you know.
Still doesn't work. Sorry about that. I'm giving my wife tips on how to push the fuse back into the wall. Our washing machine has stopped working. Anyway, we'll continue. Sorry about the fuse update.
On itself. Rating, 8 out of 10. The confusion mostly comes from vocabulary.
What? You're giving this crap where you violate an axiom a high score? What? What the hell?
Level sounds like flat.
Sorry, no. They're different words. They don't sound like each other. They're not rhyming with each other. This guy's delusional.
But scientifically, they're...
Sorry, scientifically they sound the same? Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
They're not the same thing
Hold
at all.
on a second. Time out. Time to freak out. Why is he bringing science into measurements?
So he can assert that he's got some sort of superiority, because people hear the word science and go, oh, wow, then what he said must be true because he's used the word scientifically. It's a wanker's way of ascribing false valor to their statement.
Well, it's also greasing the skids so that when the argument comes up, we see too far, he's able to appeal to why we see too far and claim science.
Water does always find its level.
So that's the end of that discussion then. This little disclaimer just pisses in the face of everything you've just said for the last 4.5 minutes then. Yeah, that's pretty much basically it.
And it means something.
Yes, it means that water finds its level, as you declared at the beginning and end of these absolutely nonsensical, completely conflicting with the statements made at the beginning and end. Yeah, you're violating your own axiom and then giving yourself a really high score for doing it. This is the dumbest shit ever.
Number 3, NASA is faking space images.
Right, this is not a flat earther making these suggestions. The space images are your worldview perpetuated by your religious leaders through a TV screen to you. You're suggesting that flurfs make an argument, and this has got nothing to do with the flat earth. Unless we describe the altitude for these so-called rockets, the orbital mechanics will also be derived from flat earth measurements in your worldview. But this is supposed to be something to do with flat earther arguments. It says in the title, flat earther argument, it says. Yeah? If it's a flat earther argument, why are we talking about rockets in a sky vacuum? The only thing that would have anything connecting it to a flat earth is the altitude from sea level.
NASA really does edit a lot of its Earth images, and flat earthers are absolutely correct about that part. The misunderstanding comes from why those images...
You don't have to be a flat earther to describe NASA's editing techniques. That doesn't make somebody a flat earther when they say NASA edits their videos and you agree. This has absolutely nothing to do with flat earth. You're just misrepresenting what we actually talk about when we talk about flat earth. Now, there might be people out there, charlatans, that call themselves flat earthers and then waffle on about how the globe don't work incessantly. That's not talking about flat earth, though. Talking about flat earth in this context, we'll be talking about the altitude from sea level that you could measure any trajectory with.
Images are edited. Imagine I ask you, take a picture of the entire United States. You can't do it from a normal plane because you're not high enough.
What height, as in your measured altitude perpendicular to sea level? That sort of height.
Even from extremely high altitude?
A high altitude's a flat earth measurement.
The country is simply too large to fit cleanly.
Large is measured in miles or kilometres. So the size that you're measuring, that you're too high, that's a perpendicular altitude and a horizontal distance. Everything about this is an appeal to flat earth measurements.
Into one detailed image. So what would you naturally do? You'd collect multiple photos from different locations, then assemble them together afterward into one large image.
Okay. Other than going to different areas at a distance that's measured flat from an altitude that's measured perpendicular to flat, how has this got anything to do with your asserted sphere belief? It doesn't.
That final picture has technically been modified.
So hold on. This started off with you misrepresenting flurfs as suggesting something to do with outer space and NASA. Now what you're offering is actual facts of how they acquire the imagery from a flat plane with flat distances and flat Earth altitudes. I don't really understand why you do this. So the only bit that's garbage you've already decried when you say, yeah, NASA do edit their images. And here's how they measure them flat to produce them. This isn't an argument. You're just stating how flat Earth gets measured.
It's a composite. Not because you're trying to fake America, just because that's the only realistic way to capture something that big with good detail. Earth works the same way. A lot of satellites orbit relatively close to the planet.
No, there's no such thing as an orbit. Orbital motion is derived from flat Earth measurement in the Roman Catholic mathematics, derived from Keplerian orbital motion, scaled by Huygens. This is a mathematics to better describe the movement of the lights in the sky. There is no orbital motion in reality. It's a mathematical derivation. In order to describe orbital elliptical motion, we are not Earth-centric for a start. The entire system is described sun-centric, heliocentric. That's your dumbass worldview, where the Roman Catholic Church put this description to describe orbital mechanics from the centre of the sun. What's he got? Well, he's got a geocentric description. Oh, you're just wrong. You don't even understand your own stupid worldview. This is not how it's described. This is not orbit. Orbits is a maths. It's not something that's capable of reifying into existence when you attempt to better explain the movement of the lights with the Roman Catholics' heliocentric orbital motion.
Many cannot see the full Earth in one frame at high quality. Clouds also move constantly, lighting...
Clouds? A minute ago, we had a downward vector, did we not? That bends. Like in a bullshit world where down perpendicular to a plane bends things. Is that not your assertion that we've got an Einsteinian gravity? No, I'm thinking not. Yeah, you've got a downward vector, my friend. Do you think that the clouds are going down? Because you now seem to appeal to these things that aren't going down. What gives? Did you not understand that you'd already appealed to a Newtonian downward force? End quote you. I'm pretty sure you've appealed to a downward force, my friend. So what's with the clouds? Hello?
Changes during the day, seasons change, storms...
Good.
I was going to say that apogee, perigee, eccentricity, time, all of the elements to these orbital mechanics requires a plane of reference, not a curve. It requires a plane of reference. And for you to reference a plane means that one must exist.
Appear and disappear. So NASA often combines multiple images collected over time to build one complete image of Earth.
There's nothing but flat Earth measurements in this process so far.
And the important detail is they openly admit this. The files are often labeled composite image, enhanced image, or digitally assembled.
Okay. So they fly up to a flat Earth altitude and measure vast flat Earth distances. Wonderful. Earth's measured flat then.
NASA isn't hiding the editing.
No, Nathan, these are the pictures that has sealed the deal for people like Gem Panda.
Were taken from a flat Earth altitude of a flat Earth vast distance.
No, all they see is the ball. That's all they see.
Editing process at all, which would be a pretty weird strategy if the goal was secretly deceiving humanity. Editing an image for visibility and assembling data together is completely different from inventing an entire planet.
No, that's not NASA that did that. That's the Roman Catholic Church. They derived flat Earth elevation angle measurements into a spherical system to give you the coordinate data that we currently utilise. Those coordinates are flat Earth measurements. The system that creates a global worldview is wrapping those coordinates around your position at the centre on something called the equatorial plane, with latitude positions marked around your position in what is essentially a giant glorified protractor. But the world is still measured flat. You haven't detailed anything other than measuring high altitude imagery. That's from a flat Earth. That's from sea level. That's distances, vast distances, you say? Yeah, those vast distances are measured flat with horizontal miles or kilometres.
Rating,
Nathan,
7 out of
he's
10.
trying to make it a conspiracy, Nathan. He's making sure that he gets that in there.
Well, making it a conspiracy with measurements so we can appeal to and lean into every time he highlights one of them. They're still flat Earth measurements, aren't they?
The observation itself is real. NASA...
Okay, so the observation from a flat Earth altitude measured from sea level of a vast flat Earth distance measured in horizontal miles is real. So we measure Earth flat then.
absolutely edits and assembles many Earth images. The leap is assuming that edited automatically means fake.
That's called a straw man. No, the fact that you've measured them from a flat Earth altitude of a flat Earth distance makes them flat Earth measurements.
Number 4, Antarctica is hiding the edge of the Earth.
Right, Antarctica, an edge? Now this sounds like a PSYOP narrative from flat Earthers.
Flat earthers often describe Antarctica as a giant ice wall surrounding the world.
No, that is a way of projecting the world with an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric projection that puts Antarctica at the outside extremities when you project the world in that way. That's azimuthal equidistant. So no, this is a PSYOP version that's been peddled into flat earthers. People like me, a flat earther, have debunked that way of looking at the world as being incorrect by checking it. That's to say, checking the sun's position with a sun-centric measurement on the map to see if it matches, and it doesn't. So no, you're just stereotyping incorrectly. I'm critiquing you. I'm a flat earther. I've demonstrated these maps wrong. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what he's got there is a projection from a global map, right? That is in itself a projection from flat Earth measurements. So you have two projections which both distort the original measurements. It's never going to be correct.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah. The azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection is a projection in a conical fashion that puts Antarctica at the outside edge as though it's an ice wall, as he describes. That's how this projection, described from a particular point on a global projection, North Pole-centric, projects this conical image flat. But the globe, as John's just adequately described, is a derivation, as I just described, from the centre point inside a globe that gives you the latitude system, also North Pole-centric, wrapped around you to create that global image from a plane. So you have a plane, you measure it flat with altitude angles, and then with those altitude angles, wrap those positions around you hemispherically so that you can create a global system from your flat measurements. From your global system, you project azimuthal equidistant to create this flat disk. So it's a flat projection of a globe of a flat measurement. That's what you actually got.
According to that model, the sun should rise and set every day, even there. A 24-hour sun in Antarctica would completely break the map they use.
A 24-hour sun in Antarctica is a flat Earth measurement. So every single participant who went down to Antarctica to measure Earth flat with azimuth, that's what's being described, measured the sun with a flat Earth system in degrees from north. They all measured it flat there. Other than Dumbo Dave McKeegan, who couldn't quite go with his own tripod. But other than Dumbo Dave, they all measured degrees from north in the horizontal for a 24-hour period. Precisely as visually demonstrated here. This is a flat Earth measurement of azimuthal directionality. You can also include in the mix altitude angle. Altitude being from the surface, that's what altitude means. Angle meaning two straight lines meeting at a vertex. That's what you measure. Altitude angle, that's the angle from a plane the sun represents with a degree measurement. And azimuth, that's its position when you describe degrees from north. So every participant of this Antarctic endeavour measured Earth flat for 24 hours, other than Dumbo Dave.
And that's exactly why something very interesting happened in 2024. A group of well-known flat Earth YouTubers actually traveled to Antarctica during the southern summer to...
Sorry, the what summer? The southern summer? Okay, so we got the north and the south in the horizontal, like a degree of azimuth, horizontal. Yeah, to travel south is to travel in a flat Earth orientation. The degree from north, 180 degrees, is a flat Earth only horizontal degree measurement. That's what south means. So you're saying they flew in a flat Earth direction? Yeah, they absolutely did. That's correct. Yes. Notice how it's so convenient and easy for this globe-believing muppet to appeal to flat Earth only measurements like it's inconsequential. So, like, you can describe going south, can you? Yeah, that's south. It's flat. So far, no good. You're not actually appealing to anything beyond flat Earth measurements.
To witness the so-called midnight sun for themselves, the phenomenon where the sun stays...
Sorry, midnight sun? As in a time-derived convention that also came from a flat Earth to describe midnight with? Because obviously it's not midnight if it's alleged that they're seeing the sun. That's not night, is it? So you're appealing to a convention that's been derived from flat Earth measurements of the sun, then, to describe in a convention a period that is inconsequential to this particular sun movement, because we don't have any night, allegedly, when measuring Earth flat with azimuth and altitude for 24 hours, as all of them did. Other than Dumbo Dave McKeegan couldn't quite cope with his own flat Earth measurements of azimuth and altitude with a tripod. But other than Dumbo Dave, they're still deriving a concept called time from flat Earth measurements of the sun, so they can be averaged, put into a convention, and then used to describe this divergence from the convention. That's to say the sun doesn't give you a night time. All right, so not midnight then. Where do we get this term from? Oh, from measuring Earth flat to derive the convention of time. I see. Well, we're going to compare it to some globe measurements. Oh, no! We're going to compare it to flat Earth measurements of altitude angles and flat Earth measurements of degrees in the horizontal from north, called azimuth. I see. So this is just an exercise in measuring Earth flat, then? Yeah, it is.
Stays visible for 24 hours straight. The expedition was called the Final Experiment.
Yeah, that's because it was produced by frauds like Will Duffy, who call measuring Earth flat for 24 hours, as all of them did, other than Dumbo Dave McKeegan, an experiment. No, measuring azimuth and altitude angles isn't an experiment. It's just measuring Earth flat for a 24-hour period. Hours themselves being a derived value from flat Earth measurements also, this convention called time. This specific type of time, because there's more than one. Go ahead.
You just got there to it. I was going to say that the reason it's a 24-hour period, it's 15 degrees hour of the sun's elevation angle change throughout the day, extrapolated into another 15 degrees through the night where you wouldn't see it. That's why we got 24 hours. It's a flat plane measure, but you got there before I did.
Yeah, perfect. It's good to have you reiterate it.
And everything was filmed publicly. Jaron Campanella, better known online.
Jaron Campanella? Jaron Cabanella, eh? I think you'll find it's Jaron Cabanara.
His Jaronism was one of the participants.
It's Campanella, just in case anybody was actually intrigued with his actual name.
And the awkward part for flat Earth theory is...
No, theory comes after experimental validity. This is not science. Just because a fraud called Will Duffy has decided to call it an experiment doesn't mean that they formed theory when they all measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Other than Dumbo Dave.
They saw it. The sun stayed up exactly like...
Up? What does up mean? Is that like being perpendicular to a plane of reference? That kind of up? Like a verticality axiomatically tied to the horizontality? That kind of up? Yeah, when you describe the sun being up, that's a flat Earth measurement by prerequisite.
Scientists said it would. Jaron himself admitted on camera, sometimes you are wrong in life.
Yes, sometimes Jaron is wrong. That's right.
Now, logically, you'd expect that to seriously shake the flat Earth community.
Right, you think the flat Earth measurements they all made for 24 hours, other than Dumbo Dave McKeegan, would shake our community? No, quite the contrary. What I did was I got a phone call from one of them while they were making these measurements. Ring, 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 ring. Hello? Oh, hello. What's that, Mr. Toon? You're measuring Earth flat again? What's that? There's no guns there. No, it didn't shake the community. Quite the contrary. We made some quite amusing songs about the idiocy that befell the people who were making these flat Earth measurements when they called people like me up to affirm their religious belief with this flat Earth measurement that they all made, other than Dumbo Dave McKeegan.
Instead, a large part of the community reacted by rejecting the people who went.
Me? No. I mean, I'd already rejected these assholes for lying to people about free energy. So, no, I didn't do that. Quite the contrary, I lent into their measurements because they were all of a flat Earth, azimuth and altitude quite specifically, time itself quite specifically. Directions, they went south. That's a flat Earth direction.
Some accused them of being bought off, filming on a green screen, joining the conspiracy.
Maybe. I saw images that had strips of sky with separation, like they were TVs. Now, furthermore, after those images were exposed to the public, they got edited out. Now, maybe that was deliberate to create a sense of tension and get people to focus on the conspiracy that they didn't even go there. But without confirming their existence in this alleged region in the south, that's a flat earth direction, by the way, I can't confirm it. I wasn't there. Now, I did get phoned up and told that they'd measured Earth flat for a 24-hour period. I mean, the answer to that for them was to ask me where the guns were. Like when the Chilean government had escorted people away before and after they went with their paperwork, when they were allegedly in Antarctica. That's the flat Earth South, because that's what South means. But no, I mean, there wasn't any fallout from our point of view. We cheered. We made songs about it. We were delighted. That doesn't change the fact that quite a few of the people who were alleged to be on the flat Earth side of this endeavour were ignoring how they'd already debunked the map they were burning as a straw man when they got there, ignoring the fact they're travelling in a flat Earth direction, and ignoring the fact that they're measuring Earth flat with altitude and azimuth. Those shilly flat earthers that didn't really need any affirmation from us. They'd already fallen out with us as we talked about Earth being measured flat. And they wanted to talk about the ether sensation being the manifestation of the vibration of libration. That's what they wanted to talk about, because they wanted to peddle free energy to people. Scammers. I mean, they projected that scammy nature onto me like most of our opponents do. But in this particular camp, we weren't shocked or shaken that they measured Earth flat. They'd been measuring it flat anyway.
Or not being real flat Earth.
Yes.
Oh, you just pressed play, but he's just depicted them on a horizontal plane of reference.
What did he say? Do I need to rewind it?
Yeah, just do a J.
There's any community reacted by rejecting the people who went. Some accuse them of being bought off, filming on a green screen, joining the conspiracy, or not being real flat earthers anymore. Which is honestly one of the most fascinating parts of conspiracy culture. Sometimes evidence doesn't destroy the belief, it just changes who gets trusted.
There's nothing to be trusted. If you've measured it flat, that's a measurement. It doesn't need any trust, right? I didn't need to trust McToon. When he phoned me up and went, I've measured Earth flat for 24 hours with azimuth and altitude, there wasn't any trust involved. I didn't need trust. It's just a flat Earth measurement. I don't care if the guy's a complete charlatan. The measurements are still flat. Why? Because there's only flat Earth measurements to be made. There aren't any exceptions. The fact that they went and measured Earth flat there is not a shock, but it doesn't in any way have any bearing on how trustworthy someone is. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter how trustworthy they are. They all measured Earth flat anyway, other than Dumbo Dave, who couldn't quite go with a tripod.
Rating 2 out of 10. The Antarctica theory sounds mysterious, but direct real-world observation ended up contradicting one of its...
So you've got a plane there in flight level. Yeah, planes fly axiomatically tied to the surface level, measured from sea level, with altitudes of topographical deviations that they need to avoid when they fly in flight level, ascribed by ground control, measured from sea level, in a direction that's flat. That'd be south. So nice that you've got a plane on there. I wonder if he'll acknowledge how flat Earth must be measured for planes to function. Probably not. Go ahead, whoever it was that was about to say something.
Yeah, he said it was 2 out of 10, but he showed on screen 105.
Did he really?
Its biggest quote is who gets trusted. Rating 2 out of 10. The Antarctica
Rating 2 out of 10 puts up an image of 1 star. It seems like you can't even fucking count, you stupid clown.
Theory sounds mysterious, but direct real-world observation ended up contradicting one of its biggest claims publicly and in real time.
You're on mute.
Whoops, not on mute. That would be the fact that he's travelling south. That's an azimuthal directionality from north. That's not in any way violating the flat Earth that's being measured. It's a violation of the suggestion that they're going down there to confirm that Earth's a sphere by debunking an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection. Yeah, they still had to fly in a flat Earth direction from north. That's azimuth. at a flight level parallel with sea level, measured from a plane. Plane of reference, not aeroplane.
Number 5, gravity doesn't exist. Flat earthers love doing this experiment where they...
Sorry, flat earthers love doing an experiment. Let's just reel off a few quotes. Gravity is not a force, George Musa. There isn't a force of gravity, we lied to you, Mitch Ukaka. There isn't really a force of gravity at all, Professor Brian Cox. So are we now going to carry on with the theme from earlier where you infer there's a 111-year out-of-date force that pulls things that are flat into a curve, violating their own axioms? Is that what we're going to now hear, with a misrepresentation of what Flurfs say about it? Flurf has no gravity. There is no gravity for a Flurf to appeal to bending horizontal. It's your claim. Again, you're misrepresenting this steel manning of your position.
Pour water onto a small ball and say, look, the water falls off, so water can't stick to a curved surface. And it sounds convincing for about 5 seconds.
No, it's not like it needs to be detailed as a convincing point of view. If you pour water on a ball, it will not stick to it. Again, you're misinterpreting a statement of absolute fact like it's suddenly going to make less sense 5 seconds later because a Flurf said it. No, that's a statement of absolute fact.
Because what they accidentally demonstrate is gravity working exactly as expected. The water is not refusing to stick to the little ball because the ball is round. The water is falling off the ball because there's an object in the room with vastly more gravity pulling on it.
Sorry, did he say pulling? Gravity is not a force. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. Your high school education fails you. No, the bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry of Einstein superseded the Newtonian gravity you're appealing to in 1915. It's just that dumbasses with a high school-only education think that gravity's a force because that's what you get told up until high school level. So you're just an idiot. You don't even know your own rhetoric.
The Earth. So yes, water absolutely sticks to curved surfaces due to gravity.
No. Or it would stick to the ball with the ball's force of gravity that the ball's mass would have in Newtonian gravitational forces. The ball is a mass that would attract other masses, if this was true. It's not. Not even in your own bloody rhetoric.
And Newton's law was with respect to a horizontal plane.
Yeah, downward vector, perpendicular to a plane, exactly.
Oceans are literally doing that right now.
Oh, so this would be your begging the question fallacy. Oh, so I assume that gravity is causing the bending and warping of the sea level. No, we've measured sea level. We use it for altitudes when we fly with respect to a plane, so that we know how high the mountains are, so the planes don't crash into them. Yeah? We've measured this, you dumbass.
The reason the water leaves the tiny ball is simply because the tiny ball...
So why is it leaving the tiny ball? Should it not be sticking to it if mass attracts mass, as is the case in Newtonian forces that you're appealing to? Oh yeah, that doesn't happen. That's why it was superseded in 1915 by Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time geometry. You're just out of date by 111 years, you dickhead.
Ball has almost...
And for your own religion, not for reality.
Yeah, out of date for his own religious rhetoric, not for reality. There is no bent pseudo-Riemannian geometry. It's pseudo. That's fake.
Gravitational pull compared to a planet.
No, there is no pull. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. Gravity is not a force.
It's the same reason you don't float toward a refrigerator when walking past one, even though it technically has
false equivalence fallacy.
Gravity too.
Oh, I see. So, like, the ball would have gravity because it's a mass-attracting mass Newtonian force that's out of date that you're appealing to. Therefore, the fridge would have a force because it's a mass. Yeah, it doesn't, because you're wrong. You're out of date. Non-force isn't a force. Stupid boy.
Earth's gravity completely dominates the situation because...
Oh, does it? Oh, really? Oh, right. Of course, those clouds are going down, go boom, boom. No, they're not, are they? No, it doesn't dominate anything, you stupid clown.
Because the Earth is absurdly massive.
Sorry, how big is it? Are we going to measure it in horizontal linear miles?
Some flat earthers then replace gravity with density and buoyancy.
What, that would be specific gravity. There's 4 different types. I mean, there's many more, but the main endeavours of gravitational assertions have 4 different varieties. Yeah? Beyond the quantum, that's an extension of the pseudo-Riemannian. You've got the out-of-date Newtonian and specific gravity. That's this. Density and buoyancy. Yeah, those are real. It's got a title. It's called specific gravity. Go ahead.
Why? Why does it have that title? I've always hated this freaking title because you're giving it gravity. When people hear gravity, they hear gravity. Gravity's real. Yeah, but it's specific. They don't care. It's not.
I don't know why who cares?
But density alone doesn't create direction.
Right, so a minute ago it wasn't in existence. Now it's density alone, like it's automatically assumed to be true. Yes, because it is, right? You're simultaneously saying, Flurf say this, which is wrong. But when I utilise it and demonstrate that it's absolutely the case, why'd you keep doing this?
Saying heavy things go down still leaves one giant unanswered question.
Heavy is a utilisation of a principle that describes the movement of solids with respect to an air that they are being weighed in. That's what weight is.
What exactly is down?
Down would be perpendicular to a plane of reference. It's a flat Earth description. That's what down is.
Yeah,
Gravity
but you know what
answers
they're
that
saying,
very-
Nathan. Why the direction down? Why not? Why doesn't it go sideways?
Well, on their ball example, he had it going exactly that. He had the ball with all directions going to the centre of it. But now he's appealing to this flat Earth only vector. Yeah, that's what they have to do. There is only one axiomatic principle when you describe verticality for things falling. That's downward. Not that all things fall to the ground. There's clouds. So when we describe these principles, they go, oh, what does that mean? Well, it's an axiomatic principle tied to Earth's surface when we measure it. For verticality, all things falling from the verticality that you can measure with a height from sea level.
Very cleanly. Matter attracts matter.
No, it doesn't. You're 111 years out of date. Do you think the clouds are being attracted to the ground, Dumbo? This was superseded in 1915. Clearly, you only have a limited understanding of your own bleeding rhetoric. No, mass does not attract mass. Experience gas with its elastic collisions. The mass of gas does not attract the mass of other mass, of other gas, if I could say it. We have elastic
Nathan.
collisions. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, for how many years have flat earthers had to correct the borders on their own religion to then only take apart?
Because they're high school educated. They need the kids in school to think there's a force holding them to a ball. Because psychologically, when you're at the stage of indoctrination with heliocentric rhetoric, where you're not being told that the mathematics works from within a ball, you're told that you're on the ball. And a kid will go, well, wouldn't we fly off it? So they go, no, there's a force that holds you there. And so long as you're indoctrinated with that rhetoric that's now out of date by 111 years, up until high school, your pea-brain kid will think that there's a force holding him to the ground, making the ball make a bit more sense. It's only when you go beyond high school that they go, no, there isn't really a force of gravity at all, end quote, Brian Cox. Because it's a bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry, a fourth-dimensional space-time bending, as a result of the uneven distribution of mass. Oh, so not mass attracting mass then? No, we lied to you, end quote, Michio Kaku.
Did Brian
bigger the
Cox
object,
define what
the
mass
stronger
was
the attraction.
in that explanation?
No, he did not.
Funny that.
And once you start looking beyond simple internet experiments, gravity explains an enormous amount of reality.
No, it doesn't. It's a bent pseudo-geometry.
Planetary orbits,
Orbits isn't derived from mathematical bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry. Orbits is Copernicus and Kepler. That's the Roman Catholic Church 500 years ago, giving you elliptical orbital motion in mathematics to describe lights in the sky. More specifically, retrograde motion, superseding what was formerly known as epicycles. Epicycles being explained with elliptical motion, sun-centric. So no pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry or mass-attracting mass has no bearing on the suggestion of the Roman Catholic-derived elliptical orbital motion you're now ascribing to it. You're just making shit up. You don't even know your own bloody religion.
Tides, satellites, falling objects.
No. Falling is perpendicular to a plane. Oh my God.
Even GPS systems, which actually
GPS is Cartesian, works with coordinates.
need gravitational corrections to
No. You don't need to correct for a force that's not a force. The orbital elliptical motion is mathematical convention only. These aren't applicable to your reality. They're derived from movement of light.
function accurately. So the alternatives sometimes sound intuitive and tiny.
Notice how it's showing a flat map on a flat phone screen. Yeah, it'd have to be, because it wouldn't work with the flat distances and the flat altitudes.
Isolated examples, but they fall apart once you scale them up to the real universe.
No, you can't scale out-of-date Newtonian forces that aren't forces. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote, Professor Brian Cox. Dumbass.
Rating, 0 out of 10.
Well, at least you got the number of stars correct on screen this time, you complete blithering idiot.
Argument usually comes from misunderstanding how gravity behaves between objects.
No, we don't misunderstand how pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time reacts. Because it's a pseudo-geometry with a fourth dimension that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, masses aren't attracting masses, my friend. Gas does not go down, boom, boom, to the centre of the sphere Earth that you think's bending when you describe perpendicularity. You're in a world of doublespeak.
Objects of vastly different sizes and masses.
Was that someone wanting to answer me? Go ahead. Right.
Number 6, thousands of people are secretly covering it up.
It says who? Nobody's covering anything up. Antarctic, they travelled south, measured elevation angles and azimuth. Nobody's covering anything up. All the measurements of Earth are flat. You're appealing to them. You appeal to them with the height of the building, the distance to a geometric horizon, depression angles with respect to a plane. Those are all flat Earth measurements. Nobody's hiding anything. All the measurements always were flat. You guys appeal to them.
He wants it to be a conspiracy.
Believing in flat Earth eventually forces you.
No. We're not believing in perpendicular altitude. We're not believing in a downward vector that you think is a force that you can think of as a force that's not a force, and there isn't really a force at all. Those aren't beliefs. We do have down, perpendicular to a plane. We do have level, that's flatness, described for building things. We do measure Earth in horizontal linear distance measurements. We do measure Earth for sea level, and we do measure altitude with respect to sea level. Those aren't beliefs. They're measurements of a flat Earth that you need.
Nathan,
Yep.
if I was to measure, let's say an area, they're going to put a football field on it, and I got a measurement of 450 feet wide by 750 feet long. Is that a belief?
No, that's just a measurement of a planar surface in a square value. If you've got a squared value in miles, kilometres, metres, feet, all of which is describing a planar measurement in horizontal linear values, in this case feet or metres.
Difficult position, because it's no longer just about the shape of the planet.
You're in a category error. Describing how Earth is measured, that's altitude angles, angles of elevation, surface level altitude, that's up with a vector, or down when you describe things falling, perpendicular to a plane. All of these axiomatic principles don't leave us in a position where we have to choose a shape. A plane of reference for altitude angles or distance isn't a shape. Flatness isn't a shape. You're in a complete category error.
It becomes about explaining why almost every major scientific...
Again?
Geometrically, you can exclude a shape if you have a plane of reference, and that's a sphere.
Yeah, if you've got a two-dimensional plane of reference to describe altitude or altitude angles or distance or perpendicularity or vectors in the downward motion, You can exclude a shape. Absolutely correct. You can exclude sphericity. Absolutely correct. Because you don't have planes of reference if you're going to utilize them for downward vectors, distances, altitudes, altitude angles, azimuthal direction. Those are all horizontal or perpendicular to horizontal.
And technical field on Earth would supposedly be lying at the same time. Take GPS, for example.
A GPS is a Cartesian system based on coordinates. It's a flat Earth system.
Your phone calculates location partly using satellites orbiting Earth.
No, there is no orbital motion for actual objects in the sky. This is a mathematical derivation giving you the light movements that's inferred mathematically after measuring Earth flat with altitude angles from a flat planar surface.
Airline routes also rely on...
So airline routes, flights fly in flight level, parallel with surface level, and the topographical deviations they need to avoid, that's mountains, like Earth curving, are measured from sea level also, perpendicular, that's altitude. The heights are measured off a flat Earth, and the level of the flight is with respect to a ground level that you can be parallel with when in flight level. Flights only work on a flat Earth.
Globe-based navigation constantly.
No, there is no globe-based navigation. GPS is Cartesian.
Astronomers from completely different countries observe the same stars, the same planetary motions, the same eclipses, and arrive at the same conclusions independently.
No. The church offered them orbital motions. It's not a conclusion they can draw separately, individualistically, if they're utilising the word orbit. They are ipso facto deriving their suggestions from the Roman Catholic Church's Keplerian orbital elliptical motion. That's scaled by Huygens and invented mathematically by the church. They're not drawing conclusions when they suggest orbits.
So for flat Earth to work...
No, it can only work flat when you measure Earth. Good.
No, I was just laughing. This guy, he's just the double speak, is like you said, is off the scale. We're used to people tiptoeing around it, whereas this guy just embraces it and wears it as paper mache shield.
Millions of people across multiple generations would need to either knowingly participate in the lie or...
No. Every single person who ever measured Earth, ever, going back generations, measured it flat. As an example, elevation angles to the stars, coordinate information for GPS, distance measurements so you can ascribe a value to how much land you're photographing from an altitude measurement perpendicular to sea level itself, flight level, parallel with surface level. All of these measurements were made by everyone. It's just people like you who believe, based on their Western world cheap as shit education, that they're on a sphere, will say level, perpendicularity, bends. Completely defying the actual measurements that everyone was always making anyway. You use them as well, it's just you whistle past how flat they must be. Like perpendicularity, sea level, surface level, flight level.
Or somehow never notice the contradiction in their own work.
What contradiction? What's the contradiction? You're measuring altitudes from a surface level. You're measuring altitude angles from a 0-degree baseline. You're measuring sea level as a plane of reference. You're measuring flight level from sea level, parallel with surface level, perpendicular in the vertical. What contradiction? Every measurement was always being measured flat anyway.
And humans are really bad at keeping secrets. Smaller conspiracies leak constantly.
What conspiracy? You think sea level's a freaking conspiracy? You think flight level's a conspiracy? You dumbass. Nobody's got a conspiracy here. Everyone was measuring Earth flat anyway. It's not a conspiracy.
Government surveillance programs leaked, military documents leak, political scandals leak.
Oh, Eric Dubay recently covered some of the military documents when they're talking about treating Earth as a level plane, when they explicitly detail how flat it's got to be measured.
Yet somehow the largest scientific cover-up in human history...
Sorry, scientific cover-up? Are you using these words to sound smart? Sorry, what's a scientific cover-up? Oh, just a bullshit word used to ascribe importance to the words you're spewing? Yep.
Would survive perfectly across rival countries, private companies...
Across rival countries? That's a perpendicular verticality for the height that you describe looking at them over the vast distances that we can measure them with.
Universities, observatories, pilots, engineers, and scientists for decades without solid proof ever escaping.
The proof is in the pudding. When you measure Earth, you measure it flat. You have ascribed multiple measurements to Earth's surface just in this video. The fact that you were too dumb to realise how you appealed to your flat Earth measurements you were making doesn't mean there's a conspiracy. It means Earth was, is, and always will be measured flat.
The strangest part is that there's barely any logical reward.
Now that I'll agree with. When you find out Earth is measured flat and always was, you don't get a prize for it. Simultaneously, if you were of the disposition that Earth is spherical, and you find out that it's just being measured flat even to create that belief, you don't lose anything either. First thing I've agreed with him on.
If someone proved the Earth was actually flat tomorrow, they would instantly become one of the most famous people in history.
Really? So somebody who goes out and measures flight level perpendicular to sea level, the guy who measures sea level, the guy who measures altitude angles to derive orbital elliptical motion for your sphere belief, did they become famous overnight? No. On the contrary, everyone was always measuring Earth flat anyway. Going out and measuring your altitude angles to a star, deriving celestial navigation positional information, or utilising coordinate data in a Cartesian GPS system doesn't make you famous because you realise how flat it is, and it doesn't alter how flat it is.
Scientists would not hide that discovery.
Why does he keep babbling on about scientists?
They would fight to publish it first. At some point, maintaining the conspiracy becomes far more complicated.
What conspiracy? Maintaining the conspiracy? What, that you're fed with your Western world education? That conspiracy, the globe, is the conspiracy, if you want to put it in these terms. Because it defies the axiom and has people bandying together to make the rest of the world see it in that way, in defiance of the measurements. If you want to suggest there's a conspiracy, it's the globe.
Than simply accepting the globe model itself.
Sorry, accepting the globe model? Okay, I accept the globe model. I understand implicitly that to create it meant us measuring Earth flat. For the latitude system specifically. Like degrees from the horizontal to create the lines that are wrapped around the globe called latitude. So if I just do as you've told me and unilaterally accept the, quote, globe model, then I must understand and appreciate the flat Earth measurements used to create it then. Yeah, well then I'd understand how flat Earth was being measured, wouldn't I?
Rating, 1 out of 10.
You gave it half. I can't count. That's 0.5 stars, my friend.
The sheer amount of coordination required makes this theory extremely unrealistic once you think through the logistics carefully.
Sorry, logistics are flat Earth measurements. You've got to measure Earth flat to do logistical analysis. Yeah, ArcGIS do specific logistical analysis of Earth's flat planar surface when they derive network distance for logistics from planar as the crow flies. Cartesian distances. Euclidean in nature. That's how we derive network distances for logistics. So when you appeal to logistics, you're appealing to flat Earth measurements also.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment on what you want to see next.
I want you to comment on how flat Earth is being measured in all the points that we raised. Next. Please, can you comment on the Devils Avocado video? Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots, or indeed by the videographer himself. Right here. There is a link going by to that videographer. Hopefully, if the Devil's Avocado was to make a response, he'd do the same for us and put a link to our video in his video, like I've done for him. So if you do, pop along to the Devil's Avocado, please comment with at Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word. Hit enter and it will turn blue so you can link back to this channel if you're reading the comments on his channel. Typically, we're covering videographers that are bigger than us, Therefore, there's a good chance that they wouldn't be anywhere near as receptive as this particular YouTuber who's smaller than us. So it will actually make a difference to this videographer if you pop along to his video and leave a comment, leave a like, leave a comment. So please do so. I encourage you, my audience, to do that now. That is to say, while I'm doing this shout out, actually pop along from the video while we're live, as we are currently, and leave a comment on the Devils Avocado video. I'll do this call to action a few more times, so you, the live audience of mine, do have an opportunity to actually pop along to the Devils Avocado video. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 me. As I say, there is a link here that you can click on if you're in the live stream audience. If you're watching after the fact, underneath the video, there's a section for comments, and if you slide it on a touch screen, it brings you up the live stream chat replay. That is where you will find the link to the Devil's Avocado video. If you're watching after the fact, I also encourage you to do the same. That is to say, pop along to the Devil's Avocado video and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 me. Try not to be too passive-aggressive, because there's a good chance he'll remove your comment. Also, don't swear, as there's a good chance that the YouTube algorithmic bots will remove your comment on his behalf. So try and be as pleasant as possible, and just allude to the fact that we have responded and covered his video. Leave him a comment, leave him a like. I'm sure he'd appreciate the YouTube algorithmic love being sent in his direction, as I would hope people who respond to us do the same for us. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 me. Is there any comments that any of you guys from the panel want to add?
I have a guy in, I don't know how to read this. It's in the chat on your live show. So he says every single component on my car can be measured flat with a bunch of dot periods after. Is he being sarcastic?
I don't know. Who cares?
Every single object on his car can be measured in a Cartesian coordinate system. Yes.
Yeah, like Earth.
Yeah. So I told him inch to the mile is linear at its origin. So yes.
Yeah, when you're using these systems, you're deriving the system from a Cartesian grid. Likewise, if you describe Earth with a distance and an altitude and a topographical deviation, that's a hill, the hill is being described Cartesian, with horizontal linear distance and perpendicular altitude in the vertical. So yeah, you need a Cartesian system to describe topographical deviations. If there was any hills, that's Earth curving, then we have measured them to the millimetre accuracy with Cartesian principles attached and horizontal distances that we must have measured to derive these deviations in the vertical from.
So you're telling me the inch is not arced?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, dear.
Right. Is there any other comments? We'll go to Discord as well. They've been extremely quiet for the entirety of this live show. Any comments from Discord? If not, I'm going to round out this live show. Fun though it was.
Now's your chance, Discord.
Hey guys, it was nice to hear this guy mentioning the measurements of Earth.
Yes, it was lovely. I really enjoyed it. Anything else? No.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't know that he's measuring Earth flat. He believes that Earth is a globe. And that's the whole thing. He believes.
Indeed.
You say he wants to contradict his own measurements. I see.
Yeah.
Right. He's saying it's measured, and we know how it's measured. But in his mind, it's a globe.
Cool. I'll do a little plug for my book. So if you want to hear more flat Earth measurements laid out alongside the globe prerequisites that are utilising the flat measurements, then check out my book, Measured Flat. Link in the info box below this video. Absolutely fantastic publication. Sold hundreds of copies already. I'm delighted. It may be the case that I'm not live tomorrow, so I have arranged to speak to Eric Debay tomorrow at around the time I'm normally live. So if there isn't a live show and it ends up being a repeat of a Uncut and After show, then the reason is because I'm chatting to Eric Debay, promoting the book Measured Flat, link in the info box below this video. Also, if you'd like to make a revenue stream of your own off the back of that book, then you can become an affiliate. There is also a link below this video, so you can apply to become an affiliate and sell the book via a link underneath your video or on Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is you do on social media that puts the opportunity for a link to be in front of other people. So if you did want to make 30% off selling the book, then you can apply to be an affiliate. Link is also below this video. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, smashed the super chat, hit me up via PayPal and coffee and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to all of you who have already purchased Measured Flat and are enjoying it. As I say, you may not see me tomorrow if I am doing an interview with Eric DeBay. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Millimeter, it be accurately measured. It's measured flat, direction up and down, flat level we at, flight over